Sure, and let's start with his first movie and my personal favorite, House of a Thousand Corpses. House of a Thousand Corpses opens up with these two guys trying to rob Captain Spaulding, who is the owner of a gas station slash horror museum. And they very quickly find out they are robbing the wrong fucking person because they are promptly offed. Later that night, this group of friends who is on a road trip stops in the store because they are actually writing a book on unique roadside attractions. So Captain Spaulding takes them through the attraction where they learn all about this local legend named Dr. Satan. And after they learn about him, the group, mainly the guys, decide to go and search for the place where Dr. Satan was hanged. On the way, it's super rainy and they see this hitchhiker who they pick up, and her name is Baby. As they're driving her to her house, they blow out a tire, which we, the audience, see it's because somebody shoots it out. So Baby's like, don't worry, I have a tow truck, so the boys walk with her to her house. And a little while later, Baby's brother Rufus comes to pick up the rest of them and bring them to the family house. So they get there and we meet the rest of Baby's family, aka the Firefly clan. So we have Mama Firefly and Otis Driftwood, who is Baby's adopted brother. We also meet Baby's half-brother Tiny, who is actually giant and severely deformed. And we also meet Grandpa Hugo. That's Tiny, by the way. So they all sit down for dinner where they're forced to wear these masks because turns out it's Halloween. During dinner, Mama Firefly explains how her ex-husband attempted to burn Tiny and the whole house down after he had a psychotic break. And after dinner, the family puts on a show to entertain their guests for Halloween. Baby ends up flirting with Bill during the show, which pisses off his girlfriend Mary. And Mary pushes Baby, which is just a terrible mistake. But before Baby can do anything to Mary, Rufus comes in and tells him that their car has been fixed, so all is saved, everything's fine. Just fucking kidding, because as they're trying to drive away, Otis and Tiny, disguised as scarecrows, attack them and take them all captive. So then we see Mary being held captive by Otis, and she asks, "Where's Bill?" And we see a sequence of Baby and Otis torturing Bill. And then he uncovers to Mary Bill's body, which is now turned into Art, aka Fishboy. I can't show a picture, look it up if you want. Meanwhile, Denise, the other girl, is dressed like a doll and tied up to a bed. And she's being watched by Tiny, and she asks Tiny to untie her, which he does. But she doesn't make it that far because Otis comes back in and ties her up again. Meanwhile, Jerry is being tortured by Baby, and she asks him to guess her favorite movie star, and he guesses wrong, so she half scalps him, obviously. You know, a reasonable response. Meanwhile, Denise's father, who obviously hasn't heard from her, reports her missing. And two detectives end up finding their car abandoned, where in the trunk they find the body of a dead cheerleader. Now, throughout the movie, there's been these broadcasts about these 5 missing cheerleaders that have yet to be located. And we have seen that they are being held captive and tortured by the Fireflies. So finding the car leads the police and Denise's father to the Fireflies' house. One of the cops and Denise's father finds one of the cheerleaders strung up in a shed. And as that happens, Mama Firefly proceeds to kill one of the cops. And Otis kills the other cop and Denise's father. Later that night, the 3 people that are still alive, including Denise, are dressed as rabbits and tied up in the living room. And Otis taunts Denise by wearing the face of her dead father. Sadistic as fuck. So they're then taken out to an abandoned well where Mary attempts to run away. But Baby quickly chases her down and stabs her to death. And then the family burns all the dead bodies on this pyre in this ritualistic fashion. So now Jerry and Denise are the only ones left alive. And they are both put in a coffin and lowered into the well. And what they find down in the well is a bunch of Dr. Satan's failed experiments. So it's a bunch of these zombie-like creatures, and they attack Jerry and drag him away, leaving Denise by herself. So as Denise is left to wander through the tunnels, she encounters a bunch of bodies and Dr. Satan and his patients. And then she finds Jerry being dissected by Dr. Satan. She screams and tries to run away, but Dr. Satan orders one of his henchmen to follow her and grab her, and it turns out that it is Mama Firefly's ex-husband. But Denise actually manages to outsmart him and escape. So she makes it out to the road where she stops a car. However, that car is being driven by Captain Spaulding. And as the car drives away and Denise passes out from pure exhaustion, we see Otis pop up in the back seat. And Denise wakes up strapped to Dr. Satan's table. And we hear Denise screaming in horror as the credits roll.